Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hey guys, I am so excited to have with me today career consultant Sweta Regmi. She is the founder and CEO of Teachndo, a career consultancy that works to ease the difficulties of job seekers. She pairs her corporate hiring expertise and a deep understanding of what employers want to help laid off career professionals and newcomers to Canada. Sweta's own story is one of a really explosive career growth and a great deal of practical experience. It includes roles in fast food, a factory, sales, and she evolved to become a hiring manager at top banks. She also has personal experience being laid off and bouncing back. She's written 9 ebooks and co-authored 21 Resilient Women that's available right now through Amazon. And lastly, she is the host of the Teachndo YouTube channel. So, Sweta, thank you so much. I've been a fan of yours for quite a while, so I'm just thrilled to have this chance to talk to you one-on-one.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And, I'd rather be here than somewhere else out there. Talk to an expert such as yourself. I've been your fan as well forever.
Oh, thank you. So you heard me give a quick overview of the myriad of titles that you have held over the years. I would love to know more about how you came to where you are today and discovering your passion for helping job seekers.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking that. So I think majority, you gave it away already, but I think my process started self-discovering myself right after my layoff that happened. So I was in the corporate world for more than 12 years in a leadership role. And when I got laid off, it was really hard for me to bounce back. And I think that's when people don't realize that you really have to have those plan in place. And I didn't have none because I was one of those who was homegrown, promoted based on my merits and stuff. I did go with the interviews and stuff like that, like, resume and stuff, but I never had to go out there and beat the bot, Yeah. So I think that was the first thing that I missed. Although I was hiring manager, all those resumes were given out to me, and I completely missed that part. And I think I had to reflect back. A lot of rejection. So I took a break for a couple of months, and I traveled. I volunteered back home in Nepal to teach, and I had sponsors and kids, and I walked mountains without the road. For a bit, I took one-way ticket. I said, this is it. I'm going to go do some soul searching before I head back to the workforce. So I think I was kind of running away from rejections, to be honest.
Interesting.
My self-esteem was really, really low. I was not confident. I felt like I was nobody without the title. I would stop attending networking with my family and friends. I was not looking forward to it. So it was kind of I was kind of going into that stage of mental health. So I ran away. So I had 2 kids and I left them beside my family here in Canada. And then I said, I'm just going to go and meet my sponsor kid and see how are they doing? I want to be in a different part of the world. So I took it. And then I stayed there for a couple of months and I did volunteer and everything. And when I came back, I was a completely different person. I wanted to go back to nonprofit sector, but there was so much challenges because you needed those experience and everything. So I was like, okay, you know what? I want to be comfortable and keep on looking for nonprofit. I want to do something really meaningful, right? So I developed the framework because I really had to reflect through who am I, what's my niche and whatnot. So I didn't have any plans. So it took me a while to develop the framework. And that's when I got passed through the ATS and I built my brand and I got multiple offers to the point that I had to drop down some interviews as well. So the program worked. And then I got into the corporate level again, Fortune companies in the leadership role. And then after working there for a year, it was not me. I think something happened doing volunteering. I felt like this is not me. I totally want to do something really meaningful so I can sleep in peace. So I literally walked out of the bank on Friday and I took a couple of weeks off to think it through because I was running through in my mind my framework and everything. I was thinking, what am I going to do next? And then I emailed my VP. I said, I'm not coming back. Thank you.
Wow.
So I resigned. I resigned without securing any other job, but I kind of had an idea, like, what are my transferable skills from this to where I want to go. So that's when I literally launched and officially Teachndo just last year. Technically, even the company was founded like 5 years ago because I wanted to do something meaningful, but I had no idea I was helping newcomers on the side already. Then I was like, this is it. I want to define my niche and I want to go into this market. I tested it out and a lot of people got hired and I was like, I think I'm really good at it. I'm much needed out there. And that's how my journey literally officially started last year. And that was all through LinkedIn.
I'm surprised you didn't call the company Beat the Bots because you developed sort of that best practice framework. That's quite a story. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you really can identify with sort of that mental health low point that people are going through.
Absolutely.
And it's in mass right now.
Yeah, it is. And that's when I feel, and that's the reason that my niche market right now I chose was newcomer because I was newcomer in Canada like 20 years ago. I can connect. I was student here. I can connect with them as well. Like how hard is it to go back? And I can connect as a laid off worker, like, who was in company forever, right? Like who knew ins and outs.
Right.
And I struggled. So I was like, okay, these are the people, they need my help. Yeah.
Well, and I'm in the US, but I work with enough job seekers in Canada as well that the problems they face are the same. The strategies that I recommend are the same. So I think all of your advice will resonate with both audiences. So we, especially when the layoff is unexpected, which happened to you, it sounds like you were really blindsided. You've explained, so perfectly how it can really take its toll emotionally. I'd love to hear what you recommend as sort of a first step that someone should take to catch their breath and regroup. Is it go somewhere else and soul search? Like what, the path you took is very different from what other people often take. What do you feel like is sort of the best first step?
I think the first step, I can speak for myself and a lot of people. I work closely with the folks who are laid off. The first step is to just debrief, and it was not your fault. Why me keeps on coming back, and everyone I talk to, it's like, why me? Why do they have a job and me, I was let go. And first of all, you got to think about what, you are not rejected, you are not fired. My role was eliminated along with the other 10 people, and I kind of saw it coming, but I kind of wish that, they gave me something else, but there was no fit. So I was like, okay, you know what? I get it. Right. And I was bored as well. I was fine with it. It didn't hit me so bad, but I think it does take, everyone heals differently. And I've seen people who are ready to go back up, like as if nothing happened.
They bounce back super quick. It's crazy. Some people are just, the time frames are very different.
It is. And I'm like, it took me a while to adjust it, even though I had family support and everything, but do what makes you feel like who you want to be. Cause I told my mother, I said, you know what, listen, I want to sleep in until afternoon. Can you go and pick up my kids? And please, I'm not ready to go and do my house chores yet, be a housewife yet, or go pick my kids yet. Right. So you need to have that support. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. And I've cried in front of mirror and just literally bawled my eyes. It just comes out and just do it, because you have to heal. If you don't, then it's going to come up in interview. It's going to come up when you're doing networking, hatred's going to show up. So you got to heal completely before you and then close the chapter, I think, with a lot of laid off people, and then move on with networking. That's when you got to put the strategy. Know what you want is the second step, right? The first, honestly, is healing it, getting expert advice as attorney or legal, if you're paid properly and stuff like that, and heal. And if you don't, then it's going to be very hard for you to move on. Close that chapter behind.
I love that. So you're saying put the why me argument to rest so that the emotions don't come out in networking interviewing. Because you're right. I hear it when I talk to clients all the time. They're still processing the pain. And it's not a good look when you're interviewing, right? You wanna appear neutral on that topic.
It comes out.
Yeah.
It comes out.
No, such good advice. You and read through your, I follow your posts and you always talk quite a bit about developing a marketing plan after a layoff. And you said yourself that you didn't have one. What's in a marketing plan?
I'm glad that you asked that. When I work with clients and show them what marketing plan looks like, they're like, is this a thing? I never knew. I was like, yeah, apparently it is, because, I didn't have one. So I completely get you, kind of thing, right? And I think marketing plan is something that, based on the framework I developed, is I didn't have anything. So I was like, a little background is I did banking. And banking, I did deposit, I did mortgage. I managed like people in deposit side, mortgage side, and quality and coaching. My niche was not identified because I could do it all. And I was so confused, like, what do I want to do, right? First, the path was not clear. And I was so confused. I was like, I need to be good at something and shoot that in. And a lot of people don't have that because they feel like, right? Like there's no, and I felt like I was an employer, and what would I think about it if someone actually applies for this and this and this, right? So I think right now too, a lot of people I work with, they are not clear on their strengths and weaknesses. So it and target the market and find out if there are jobs out there. I mean, there's no point of you targeting for 10 posting when there are hundreds of people applying for it, right? So know your niche, know your market, know the locations. Are you willing to travel? What is it that you are willing to give up in order to get to that? And then it's a first step that, as soon as I identified what I wanted, the first step is marketing plan to just, put it on the process, the visualizing, what do you want? What are you good at? Who are the recruiters? Is there a headhunters? Identifying the targeted networks to everything, put it down on paper, because if you don't, you're not going to get it all. And then later on, once you do that, follow that path. Am I on the right track? Stuff like that matters. And I didn't have that. Nobody has it, but you got to put it on plan and move along. And that's what the marketing plan I teach. And you know what? People are blown away. People are like, oh my God, there is something like this. And I'm like, yes, it is.
So it includes, these are the niches that I'm interested in. These are the companies that might make sense. Here are the people that I know and need to get to know. These are my deal breakers. I can't commute across the country. I can't make $2 an hour. Like that, whatever those things are, that's what you're saying is part of that marketing plan.
Yeah. And a lot of it, and you can just build on based on the industry, a lot of it, as so many things you can do. If you're clear on that step-by-step framework, then you know how to draft the resume, you know how to talk in an interview, that starts
right.
From
you
there.
have that foundation. It starts with all that. That's where it starts.
Exactly.
No, that makes perfect sense. And you're right, because if you go at it in the dark, then it just takes so much longer.
Don't you get that too? Virginia, every time, how many times people come to you and say, I want you to write the resume, about what? What are your strengths? I don't know, you tell me. And then you don't, and a lot of people feel like career coaching is counseling, but we don't counsel. And that's a counseling part. And you are actually crossing the boundaries unless you have a license, right? And people feel like career coaching is you got to guide me where I want to be. I don't know what am I good at. I'm you can literally guide them, but you cannot be counseling. And you're you know what I mean? So a lot of people are not clear on that, but
no, one of my, Maureen McCann, she has a really good analogy where she says it's like telling someone to build a house when you're like, well, do I have $2 million to do it or 200,000? Do you want 3 bedrooms or 7? You need those details.
Exactly.
Be clear on it to get started. So when people are starting from scratch, what do you give sort of a rough estimate of the average length of the job search? That question's been popping up so much more recently, I think just because COVID and so many people are, their job searches are a little bit more urgent than they were before. What's your take on it?
I don't know. Maybe there are people out there they're not going to like my answer, but my answer always been with my client and the other people. I don't timeline that you should be getting a job within 60 days, 30 days, or or a year or something. Everybody's different. So I'm I've had newcomers landing in Canada, getting back-to-back offer within 20 days, right? But I'm not going to sell somebody and
that's
say,
not the norm, right?
Yeah, like you can land the job in 20 days as well. Everybody is different. There are hot jobs out there. There are jobs it's really going to come in, and it depends on the city. It depends on, are you a go-getter? Are you a good networker, introvert, extrovert? There's so many things. So that's why I do the customized sessions and, one-on-one fully. I don't do the group sessions at all. And I've learned to just not say like, it takes like, 1 year or 2 years. You know what? Take your time. I mean, like, it's good to have a goal. I tell people, don't get me wrong. It's really good to have a goal that you want to get the job by like, a certain time. But like, if you don't meet it, what's next, right? Like, always be willing to actually do your work, give it your 100%. And, there's no guarantee you're going to get it in 20 days or you're going to get it in 2 years. Who knows? I was like unemployed for so many months, right? Or like, it takes a toll on it when people are saying, oh, I got it in 60 days. Like, it's like almost you're like, what? I'm a failure? But you know what I mean? So like, I think everybody's different. Get the support, be self-aware, what's working, what's not working, tweak it accordingly, and everybody's different. So I don't think you like that answer, but my answer is always
I do. I mean, what I hear you saying is don't compare yourself to other people because there's so many variables.
Exactly. That's whole like thing. Whenever I see like, I can guarantee you a job in this, I'm like, oh my God, you can go there, right? I don't know what happens when I teach you. What happens? Like, after that, what are you going to do? Are you going to apply the full technique the way I taught you? Like, we got to revisit it, right? Yeah.
Right. No, and I think that you shouldn't compare yourself to others, but you do need to have that self-awareness to say, it wouldn't hurt to talk to someone who got their job in 20 days to evaluate their process and see how it compares to yours and see if there's something that you are doing to make things take longer than they might otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, agree. So we see a lot about, network. But so many people have neglected their network because they were really busy with other things and now they realize that they need it. How do you recommend they go about rebuilding it? I feel like that's a touchy subject for people because they feel bad that they've let relationships go.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you asked that question because I had the challenge and I think I can speak for those people who are like, currently employed and you totally overlook on networking outside because I was working in the bank. I knew everyone within the industry, within the banking industry, within the same company for like so many years, right?
You were really networked there, right?
You network only there and you don't even think about like connecting with the people outside because they're like, you want the job, you want the promotions, you got to network within, but you never like, think about like, what happens after if I do want to get out of here. And people tend to forget that. And I was guilty of that. So the way that it worked for me was, I know LinkedIn is a professional platform, but I revisited everybody on like, whoever I had on like, my personal platform, like, luckily they were on a Facebook, some of them were on a Twitter, right? Like I was on LinkedIn, but I was kind of like a lurker. So I started like building my existing pool of network who I already knew, like who moved out from the company or someone that I really trusted, they could guide me. So I started like same thing, just the way that building the relationship with Facebook. I see pictures, liking, commenting, hey, how's it going and stuff like that. And offline on like messages on a Facebook and they would come like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Do you still work there? And I wanted almost them to ask me instead of me telling them I'm looking for a job. That's the approach I took. Never once went in on my personal Facebook and said, hey, do you have a job? Or like I try to build the old relationship, patching it up. And then couple of times talking to them and then let them ask you, what are you up to? That's when you hit them with, oh, I'm looking for this. I was laid off. And they're like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, and when you talk to the people, who are going to be supporting you, who are going to go like, above and beyond for you. You would know it and stick to them and take it offline to LinkedIn platform. That's what I did. It worked for me. With the, again, existing relationship, right? Building a new relationship is a whole different framework, but existing one is to make sure that you show up for them when they're posting anything. Be genuine about it though.
So did you take I like the strategy of, let's see what other social media I'm on a personal level. So take your Facebook connections. Did you then ever sort of make those people your professional connections on LinkedIn so that
yes, so,
friends of friends kind of thing could happen?
Yes. So I started from Facebook, people that they moved from my old company to somewhere else where, they were on the role, leadership role, where they were able to like guide me or provide me the referral again, like be focused on quality. I mean, what kind of people you're going to get, but, so focus on quality. So I targeted the hiring managers within the industry and everything and took it offline on LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, you're on LinkedIn? Or like, yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn as well. So, and then, that way it's like, oh, by the way, I'm looking and there's, because you built that relationship already, that's like, oh, there's a posting happening. Do you know anyone in that branch? And they're like, I'd love to refer you, right? But you have to have a built-in reputation already for them to, because that's their reputation line. Why would someone actually refer you, right? You have to have that before you actually start asking for favor, to be honest.
No, I agree. But I love it. So go to your personal networks and try to move those people to this professional platform. But then I hear you saying also the social media is not where these more meaningful discussions need to happen. It's where they begin, but then take them off that platform and launch real conversations.
Yeah, with existing, that worked out better for me. With the non-existing, when I had to, I even what happened was after I moved from Toronto, because of personal need, my husband was working in the different city. He used to travel, so I was right after laid off. Okay, there's nothing for me to do in Toronto because he lives in Sudbury. I'm going to go move with the kids, right? So because I wanted to be with the family, so I was like, okay. So then it was even tough for me because I had to move to the brand new city, the smaller city, right? And it's bilingual city, and I'm targeting nonprofit, and because I had a good framework, it all worked out. So later on, I wanted to work with nonprofit, and then they literally, I built a connection within employment services because I wanted to really get out there and see what's out there before I take up this career coaching, because I had that subconsciously in my mind. So then I built a network. I wanted to do the volunteering. They're like, hey, can you work for us? I was like, really? And I worked there, and I didn't like it. And there also, I quit on the spot.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny.
So, it's basically, I built a relationship, offline, and I know there are people, we talk about it all the time. Well, information interview doesn't work. Coffee chat doesn't work. I'm like, hell yes, I'm an example of it. I got a lot of those offers, right?
Yeah, I never got a job applying through the old-fashioned newspaper. It was always conversations, I don't think I called them informational interviews, but it was just exploration chats. That's what I used to call them.
Yeah. And people feel like, okay, well, information's gonna, that's gonna take forever. I'm like, yes, it has to take forever because you're building relationship, right? It will take,
right. But they last you longer, and they certainly take less time than applying to a million jobs online. Exactly. I think when it's all right now, 100%. It makes me laugh. You keep saying I left that job on the spot because I quit a job at Blockbuster Video in 3.5 hours.
Oh my God.
This is not, I want to watch movie previews. I'm going to watch movies. And this is not going to let me do that. So,
I remember Blockbuster.
Do you remember? I know, I'm old. Yeah. I'm like, this is for the birds. I'm not doing this. So I quit. Don't tell my kids that. So, all right, let's go back to the whole professional network thing. We talked about the people that you used to work with, your colleagues. Who else should be in your professional network?
It's so funny you said that because when I lost my job, I had no career coaching, anyone in LinkedIn at all. I didn't even think this kind of thing existed.
I had no idea this was a thing until many years after I was writing stuff for free for people.
Oh my God, you're so right. So this sort of happened to me. So when I got laid off, they offer a severance package and they offer the placement, a renowned one, very reputed, placement. So I was like, I don't need this, and then a lot of people started taking it. They're like, I think you should go and check it out. I know we don't need it. We should go and check it out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to check it out. And I sat in the group sessions. They have the group sessions for all those leadership, people and everything. So I looked at it and I'm like, is this a thing? I was like, this is even a thing. I think on my mind, I was thinking like, oh, this is the thing, I can do it with my eyes closed because I can do the mock interview. And she's like sitting down with me and training me for mock interview. I was like, oh, this is the thing. I do this really, right? And then I think that was sitting in my head all the time. But coming back to the professional network, I was like, when I saw when I was a job seeker, I had no idea there's network at all. So I literally was blindfolded. So this is why I was like reaching out to everybody, on LinkedIn, not knowing how to reach out. And LinkedIn banned me.
You did? The LinkedIn police got you?
Yes. And then it was so hard. And I was like, I didn't realize, why would they ban me? I was like, I'm sending invitations and I'm thinking, oh, I'm spamming. And it was not the right approach. So I've learned everything. That's why I say to people,
you've learned everything the hard way. Okay. So no spamming. Yes.
No, I got bad and oh my God, it was so hard to get account back, and they gave me back. And I said, promise, I had no idea. I'm not supposed to send invite, 75 invite per day. Right?
But you know what? You're right. It's not common knowledge. And if you're a go-getter, I remember people saying pre-LinkedIn, go send out 100 letters or 100 emails. So it makes sense.
Yeah. And then I learned it and I was like, okay, it's not about quantity. You got to be. So that's why I put that's why I said my slogan itself in my company is I teach do's and don'ts.
There you go. Yeah.
Everything I teach is don't do what I did. Do what I did. So it's so anyway, long story short, the professional networks, I had nobody just outside LinkedIn, to be honest. I got all the multiple offers through LinkedIn from strangers, not from referral. All
wow,
strangers.
Really? Oh my gosh.
All through the information interviews, brand new.
Well, you made strangers become relationships.
Yes, and that works. If you do it right, it works. So I had no professional network except the people who are willing to go and recommend me. Yeah.
So in terms of who was in your network, then you targeted people at companies or organizations that you were interested in. Is that right?
Yes, it was all strangers. So I had a list of people, again, going back to the marketing plan, I had a list of people. I used to stalk them.
Quietly, yes.
Quietly. And then, so one thing that I was never afraid of was reaching out to CEOs of companies, CFO and VP. I would straight go to VP. I would straight go to people, my boss's boss, let's put it that way, straight.
So one level above, a skip level. Okay.
Yeah, skip level. And I want them to vouch for me. That's how I got the job actually in nonprofit. I went to VP straight in employment services. I want to do this. This. She introduced me. I asked for a coffee chat. She introduced me to a bunch of managers.
Because who's going to say no to your boss, right?
Yes. And then she's gave me all the scoop. And then I built relationship with her through LinkedIn. Stranger, by the way, different city. And
That's
then
brilliant.
I was like, I want to volunteer. And then she called me for coffee chat. And next week they're like, I know you want to volunteer, but can you please work for us? It was not even the job that I wanted. It was one step higher they offered me. And I worked there. So I was like, okay.
I love that. My takeaway is do your homework, use LinkedIn as the world's greatest CRM, and figure out who your boss's boss would be at the kinds of companies you want to work with.
She sold me, she sold me in front of to her direct reports. I was like, okay, this thing works. And that's all framework I teach, because everything that worked for me might not work for anyone else. But the frameworks can be same, but you got to keep it accordingly, right?
I love that. So in terms of executing on the marketing plan, what kind of a schedule, either daily, weekly, do you recommend for someone who's job searching when they have been laid off?
So
what does their day look like?
My day used to look like full-time job, to be honest, full-time.
Really? Okay.
I remember. So one thing that the hack, I learned it myself, which I applied on it. That seemed to be working. And I tell my clients to do that as well. So know when the company literally posts a job, you would kind of have an idea, because I work in that world that, I was a hiring manager. We had a specific day the posting would be coming out, and we would have where it's going to be showing up first, right? Company website or Indeed or LinkedIn. So figure that out And for that, you need to do the research. And right after that, there's two ways to go it. Be on first 10 applicant, be right away, normally. Do it. The job posting normally comes out around Thursday or Friday with, the company, depends on the industry. Go on there and just go shoot it and sleep over it on a weekend and follow up and do stuff like that with the hiring manager. But at the same time, you should not be waiting for job posting anyway. You should be doing beforehand. But if it falls through the crack and you feel like, this is a job I want, then know where are they going to post it. Be the first one to go ahead and do it.
Do you feel like within that first 24 hours, that's the best window?
Yeah, because it depends on the hiring manager. I feel like, and I'll share one thing that people feel like, and a lot of people come back to me and say, but Sweta, there's 500 applicants. I'm like, you know what? You know how to write the resume. You've done everything. So you can get it. Because what happened was at Teachndo, I posted for some job and more than 200 people applied. And because of ATS that LinkedIn has, only 3 people I found was the right fit. And it was all based on the filtering system I set it up at the back end. So, and then I tell people don't pull yourself back just because you see the applicant, because they don't know how to write the resume. They won't fall into that bucket. But now you know how to write the resume. I've taught you. You're going to fall in that bucket. But before you do that, you still have to do these kind of steps, right? So it's not about the numbers they see. Don't be alarmed with it. Go ahead and apply because
they could be 480 really bad fits. Right.
Yeah. And it's it doesn't even, as a hiring manager, I've seen the tool, if it doesn't fall, ATS does not reject it, but it doesn't, fall into the fit bucket. So, employers, biggest companies, they have a mandate to go and see all the applications, right? When something comes up in my company, I tell people, my admin, I want them to go and see everything because I'm a resume writer. I am not going to hold someone on resume only, but I'm willing to go. That's why whenever I post for job posting, I go cover letter is the must.
Yeah.
So I want to go from that, right? So I give them chance. But again, it depends on the industry. Apply whenever you see it right away. Don't wait for it.
Don't wait. Yeah. Yeah. No, agree. To include a cover letter, be one of the first 10. But you need to know when, because companies do have habits, right? They have patterns where and when they're going to post.
And you're right. I don't know if it's the same for US at all, but there are rules in the place. Some company, in some company, what happens is if there's an expiry date on it, you cannot touch that. You have to wait until everyone actually,
before
goes through it and
out.
expires, and then they start the process. And some company, they're no, we got 10 people, good to go. Some managers, it happened. It happened to me exactly. Same job posting. I'm just applying. I'm getting rejected. it was when I was a job seeker, and I figured it out. I was they got it depends on the industry and managers as well. Some managers keep on waiting. Some managers are I got it. I'm going to move on with it. Right. So you got to know.
No, I think that's true. And I also think that while the job posting is being crafted, a lot of times they're, hiring managers are seeing who they know, recruiters are looking. So you need to expect that there's already sort of a pre-qualified group as well. So it's definitely behooves you to be one of those first, because they're going to start interviewing right away because they've already got a group of people to begin with. So.
Absolutely. You're so right. I forgot about that part. I know I was one of the job seeker. I wanted to go into this banking world and I applied and the posting came out. And later on, I found out the posting was taken away in 2 days, Virginia, 2 days, major bank, global fortune company. I was so mad. I was I'm so qualified for this. I beat the ATS, right? And then I found out that they hired someone internally who was actually acting as a manager. They just posted.
They had to post because they needed to post. My husband's in banking, and they call him and say, "Hey, the posting's coming out." So he's got a fast track to that. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on. Absolutely. So in terms of addressing the gap when someone has lost their job, what's your advice or your strategy for addressing it in the resume and then also in the LinkedIn?
First of all, I always tell people, don't try to, be accountable for it. Be fully, be ready for it. How you're going to answer it, right? It's one thing to hide a resume. We all are a resume writer and we know how to do it. But again, it depends, what you're doing, right? Like the volunteering courses, there's a hack that we can put it together. But at the end of the day, they're going to notice it. And how are you going to talk about it, right? That matters. So own it. And for resume, obviously, we all do the same thing. I believe it's volunteering courses and any membership, any board of directors for executive, affiliations and certifications, whatever you name it, as long
whatever
as
you can do to fill it in. That's right. Exactly.
Right. So we do that. But a lot of people don't know that either. But that's where we're here for them, right?
Do you do the same thing on LinkedIn?
LinkedIn as well, yeah. So no, actually, LinkedIn, I work it differently on LinkedIn because the LinkedIn actually it needs to be optimized. So there's a little bit of hacks, and I work through it. Depends on the clientele and industry. So there's the other way that I do it. It could be similar, but again, it depends on executive versus entry level versus consultant. It applies differently on LinkedIn. That's how I do it. So I don't know how other people do it, but it's not going to be same exactly from resume to LinkedIn for me.
Right. And I'm with you because the keywords really can make a difference on LinkedIn where you put them. So the optimization you have to factor that in.
Exactly.
So you and I are both very active on LinkedIn. What would you say are sort of the main benefits of having a presence on LinkedIn and the benefits of engaging on the platform? And what I mean by engaging is posting, commenting, liking. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And what do you give advice to job seekers to do that, to engage on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. And here are my pet peeves when job seekers
Let's hear it.
Pet peeves when job seekers. And I've been there, I know, desperate time, desperate measure.
Yeah.
And you feel like you are seeking for sympathy, but there's a way to do it, right? Posting the resume saying I've been doing this forever. I'm not getting job, or share, post it, stuff like that. Whenever I see that, I cringe. I'm like, come on, you're not I know you're desperate. I know some people are going to do it for you, but then you're not going to get a job based on that. So let's talk about value added, how do you help the company, right? So if you want to engage, you want to engage in right platform you're not there for followers. You're not there to get the leads, you know what I mean? So to be very strategic about targeting your industry, targeting your niche. And I think we're all aligned when it comes to telling them what to do. I think one takeaway from former job seeker was don't lurk. So and it's so hard because LinkedIn is kind of it has an algorithm, personal, and people think that, and I get some clients, people think that, okay, well, if I write the post today and tomorrow and blah, 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 why am I not getting result? Listen, personal branding takes forever. Have you seen
slow snowball?
Yeah. It's have you seen Coke and Pepsi overnight? No, they took so long to actually get into the market. They've worked so hard for you to know now, right? So you got to work hard for it. And I show them my example, listen, I started writing content every day from last July when I quit my corporate world and everything. I was like, I've had it. I'm going to go back to this because I was doing this for free without personally branding myself. And that was a huge lesson for me. I launched Teachndo and I said, this is it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to write every day to my audience. I started with 500 connections and now I'm 142 followers or something, 142,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get invited to these, podcasts such as yourself, an expert reaching out to me and everything. Did I see it coming? Because I just did what I could, right? Continue. And my advice is continue. Build your passion, write it down. Someone somewhere is going to notice you. And that's not going to happen if you just but you got to have a value whenever you're commenting versus engaging, right? And don't be spamming, going there and put it on the post. Hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have it? Have some value, have some respect for yourself. Don't dump the resume. The resume is really powerful. Why are you dumping it everywhere, right? So let's talk about the value. And I think we all can agree to it. LinkedIn is a great platform. Like, I just started last year. I had LinkedIn account forever, but I was hugely active just last year. And that's my bread and butter. I don't spend a dime in marketing. Everything comes from LinkedIn for me.
It's all organic. Yeah.
Right. So I'm an example of it. And LinkedIn should pay me for this.
But what I hear you saying is you have to be targeted in who you engage with and what you write. Because people that, I could go all day and comment on sports and I don't know, other things that might interest me. But if that is, I don't want to be known as a sports person. I want to be known, as a writer. So I want to speak on topics that I know about, and I want to comment and add insight with other people that are also speaking in that space. So don't just say great post. You have to be able to add some value. But I do think, I know for a lot of people, starting the writing is really, really intimidating. So I'm a huge fan of just start with insightful comments. It's not that hard to write 2 sentences, 5 minutes a day. It is a lot harder to plan some thoughtful posts, but to me, it's a good way to sort of test the waters.
Absolutely. You're so right. And I'm like, glad that you brought that up, right? Like, and I'm like, I don't know, like, it's coming from person. Listen, I was not born in Canada. I was born and raised in Nepal, and I had ESL issues all the time. I talk about this now, like, the insecurity.
That's amazing. Your English is so amazing.
Thank you. I'll take that as a, compliment, because you're a former journalist. So thank you. But then, right. So, I mean, like in communication world, in leadership role, I was always underrated. Like if I was 4, then like 3. Why? Communications, leadership skills, right? Like the, communications and presentations and stuff like that. And I was thinking like, oh my God, I would never be able to write anything. I had to, when I'm writing emails, like in a leadership world, sending out to my direct reports, I would question myself. And I'm like, I'm comfortable sharing it right now, but it was so like, there's so much insecurity kicking in.
I'm sure with it not being your native language, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was not. And then I was like always rated lower because of communication, always came in on a performance review. And then like, I started writing on LinkedIn last year. I was like, forget about this grammar police. I am going to install Grammarly.
Grammarly, that's why God made Grammarly. Exactly.
And then I started writing, Virginia. And then like, there are 3 people who approached me to write the book. I was like, really? Really? And then I took on this one with Daisy Wright, who approached me to write the book. And we just got it. 21 Resilient Women. Did I ever think a couple of years back that I'd be writing a book? Hell no. I couldn't even write one single email. Forget about the thing goes viral. Yeah. So I tell people, you know what? You got to kill your insecurity by overdoing it. I am an example of it. I go live. I do this. I'm like, I stutter sometimes. My accent comes out, but so what? Focus on message.
Well, and to me, by letting that go, and just saying, you know what, if something is slightly grammatically incorrect, who cares? Your voice is coming through. And I think that's more important on the platform than making sure that our English literature teachers were happy with what we wrote.
There's always going to be there. Like, there are people.
Yeah, there's people that, I know. Yeah. You put the comma in the right place, all that stuff. So I get that. But when you let go of that, that's when your voice comes through, I think.
Absolutely. And it's hard. And you do this for a living, resume writing. It's so hard. And I'm writing a resume. I'm teaching classes. I'm like, you know what? I didn't think I was doing this as an ESL person, not born in Canada. I always had insecurity. And I always tell people, do it. Like, focus on message and it's going to come in. More writing, content, do it, man. Do it. LinkedIn is all about content.
Yep. No, 100%. So, all right. So you have your Teachndo. You launched this book. You have a lot of plates up in the air, balls up in the air. What is next for you in 2021?
I think a lot of people are not going to like it. Like those are people who are, so those are people who are going to say, well, she doesn't have a plan and vision and goal. Listen, life happens. I live every day. I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning or not. All I want to impact people's life all over the world. That's why the Teachndo was born. I quit the world, good paying job. I was like a risk taker. I did not know I would be quitting. I did not know I would be laid off, for God's sake, right? I would know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I just just want to do something meaningful. When I die, then people should be saying, wow, she was something versus, oh, I'm glad that she's dead. And that's my motto. And I'm not looking for like $1 million. I'm not looking to be a billion. I'm just looking to impact people's lives. That's all is next for me.
I love. So don't plan too far out. Just be intentional, meaningful, and whatever you do, try to make it impactful.
Isn't that what it is, Virginia? Like, at the end of the day, you want to sleep well thinking that, oh, because of me, someone got the job, someone was able to have a basic needs. Isn't that why we're here?
No, it's true. And, every time I've tried to make a dang plan, it blows up in my face because all of the factors that I use to make that extensive, that 2, 3, 5 year plan, the factors completely change by the time I get there. So, I do try to plan for the next year, but I recognize that curveballs always happen. I mean, who knew COVID was going to happen, right?
I just got around with it, right?
So I think but having that core, that compass that's saying, is this impactful? Is this meaningful? Okay, then I'll go with it. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank
So
you.
I have included in your bio a link to your Teachndo site, your LinkedIn, your YouTube channel, and the book on Amazon. Is there any other socials or any other place where you would like people to connect with you or any other sites that I didn't mention?
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much for including that. I'm really humbled. No, I mean, I'm on a Twitter, Twitter as well. But again, LinkedIn is the way to go.
That's your place. Yeah.
Yeah. It's for career professionals. If you want to follow, I think you should follow me. And if you want to look at my personal pictures, follow me on Facebook.
There you go. Well, Sweta, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about you that I didn't know, even though I, researched a little bit before you and I got on the phone. But I love what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Virginia. It was a pleasure.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's SKIM online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.